granted, there's a lot of restrictions that went with it, but the line has moved. Because when you work and engage regionally and collectively work together, it's amazing the different things that come out. So my advice for the mayor, spend some time with staff and pay attention. They got to know you. You've got an entirely different perspective on things, a very healthy perspective on things than I do. Give them time to get to know you in your new role. You've got, I mean, you're going to have office hours, you know. Today I found out the first day she's in office, she's going to be there for 6 hours. That's a great way to engage the new mayor. Okay? Pace yourself. It's really easy to burn out. I've done that myself a few times, so it's really easy to be able to do that. But the biggest thing is there's a few myths with being mayor, and there's 3, but really I have 4 today. And if you recognize any of these things, you'll know why. So the first is you may wonder what you need a plunger for. You may think because you're now managing a multi-million-dollar sewage treatment plant you need a plunger. Well, you need a bigger one really to fix that problem. But sometimes legislation gets stuck. It just, you can't seem to get it, whether it's from staff or from council, whatever, sometimes it just needs to get plugged. And sometimes you just gotta get in there and dive in to resolve what that issue is. That's not one of my 3 here. I just came up with that one at the last minute, thanks to Brady. But the best part about it is that sometimes things get stuck and you gotta figure out how to do it because you are the lead dog in this race and you're guiding that sleigh. And all the other dogs and ponies, horses, etc. behind you are watching you. So work with them. And sometimes you may have to say, stop, we're gonna take a break, we're gonna stop and look around and see where we're at, and we're gonna say, okay to ourselves, folks, we need to unstuck whatever we're on. Whatever the issue is hanging council up on X, or whatever the issue is hanging the department heads up on Y, we gotta work through it. The other one is the poop runs downhill. Everybody heard that story that it always runs downhill? Well, really it doesn't. It not only runs uphill, you need bigger boots sometimes for this role, but it runs uphill, and by the time it has a unique smell, by the time it gets to you, it's been fermenting over days and weeks sometimes what the issue is. Because if the problem was really that simple, it wouldn't come to you. Okay? The other one is that by the time you hear about an issue, there'll be an easy solution. Not only will the issue be complicated, most likely feel like you need hot lava. So with that, we got these nice gloves for you because whenever you walk into an issue, you're going to need to be able to hold on to it because sometimes it's going to be a little slippery, but most of all, it's going to feel like, oh my God, is it really that hot and that open? But it is. And the last piece of advice, which I found the most important one, is everybody loves the mayor. Okay, not everybody loves the mayor, okay? They stood in line for that day, okay? There's lots of money raised that day. Because you have critics in all walks of life. And they'll all wander around, and especially the social media side of things. So with that, I got earmuffs for you. So sometimes you just got to tune them out. And stick with what you value and what you believe in, because in your heart, you know what it's going to take to get things done. And everybody, whether they're a current council member, current committee member who thinks you love you, 6 months from now, that may change. But as long as you stick with your own values, you're going to succeed really well in life. And
Hey,
closing,
Will?
yes?
Do you have that for us too?
I only brought stuff with the lead dog in this case.
Here, she'll share.
Yes. Sometimes you'll stub your toe along the way, but that's how you move forward. As my friend Albert Einstein said, a person who never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Because you're going to try a lot of things new this year. You're going to try a lot of new ideas and new things that you're going to take on. And you're going to stub your toe along the way, but that's okay. It's just your toe. You're going to fall forward. Well, you're still moving forward if you're falling forward. You're still going to be able to succeed at what you're going to do as long as you are trying something. And don't be afraid to fail. That applies to everybody in this room. Don't be afraid to fail. Try something. If you're not sure what it is, don't be afraid to fail. And this group, I know in my heart's of heart is going to take the city to the next level because I know for a fact you guys are going to be very successful in what you do. So with that, don't forget to have a little fun along the way. Okay, so thank you.
So I think we have some people who might want to
Okay.
have a word.
Sure. Oh, before I forget, the one thing that you do get, because you're now responsible for the police department should get a badge. A real badge, no less.
Thank you.
And in case you're wondering, this is Matthew and Michelle's first night on the council. And you fell for the oldest trick in Extrava's history.
Don't tell what
I can't tell you what it is.
Okay.
All I can tell you is you gotta roll with it.
All right, you can do that.
And this is me at the Sound Cities board meeting. I brought the giraffe and I told the group about sometimes you gotta stick your neck out if you wanna succeed. And sometimes you will have a Grinch in your corner, but the Grinch isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's telling you somebody, maybe you ought to just slow down on what you do. And the most important is that there are people out there, if you recognize these two here, from King 5, they'll wanna tell your story. And they wanna tell your story because they're excited about who you are as a community. Okay? With that, I'm all done.
Okay, never mind. Just wanted to give an opportunity if anybody had.
We have something besides the party from last week. So staff. So Sarah Berlin put together a collage of all of the projects and special events that we have done and made this for the mayor. And then it has been signed by quite a few of us. It is, the week before Christmas, so there's a few missing.
It's okay, but the thought is it.
Yes, and I just personally want to say thank you so much. You may not have been the mayor that hired me almost 17 years ago, but you are the mayor that gave me the opportunity to become city clerk. And I can't tell you how much that means to me. I know you get to go.
I've had a special journey here, and it started out as an assistant. And it's been a great place to grow and learn, to be part of the community, to raise our family in the valley. And I really appreciate the years that I've been able to serve you and serve our community, that you've had a great impact on my life, and even my family's.
Thank you.
Your turn, Boyd.
I probably can't get that emotional. What I want to say is, Mayor Will hired me, and when he hired me, I wasn't sure I wanted to come to Duvall, just because I wasn't sure. And I'll tell you, the reason I came here is the first council meeting I came before I was hired on, and there's you doing Diane doing 9/11 presentation with art, and there's the mayor walking around filling people's water glasses. And it's like, wow. I know that sounds really simple, but it's like, these people actually care. And he did choke up a little bit as well, and that was kind of interesting as well. But I just want to say, I'm really thankful for the opportunities you've allowed us to pursue, and both professionally and personally. And I'm really thankful, and the staff is as well. Everyone's very excited to say thank you very well.
Thank you.
So I'll go next. I think this, you only hired me back in May, but this has been the most challenging, probably 7 months of my entire life and career professionally. And thank you for that, because I think I've grown a lot as a financial person here at the city and personally. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to partner with the city. We definitely appreciate it. I think we've learned a few things, believe it or not. We learned from you guys as well. We think you guys have, have a lot of commonality with us. I think, the partnership is great. We share the same issues, and I think, Mayor, you've really done a fantastic job in allowing us to have that opportunity to serve you guys here, and we hope to continue.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Will, it's been a long but short 8 years, and Will and I have had our, like he talks about, our debates over at my kitchen table or in council or wherever, and over the years, no matter what happens, we've always been able to come together and work towards the common goal and the common solution. And many in this room don't know that when we started working towards the second phase of Main Street, Will came to me and said, hey, Amy, I have an idea. He said, I think we should move forward with the second phase of Main Street. I said, well, we don't have any money. And he said, we'll get it. I reluctantly went along, knowing that it had been done before, and we worked hard as a team, city council, staff, and the mayor's office, and were able to obtain the funding necessary to have that Main Street that we have today. We wouldn't have Big Rock ball fields if Will and his staff hadn't come to us a year and a half ago and said, we have a grant, and this is a great opportunity, and we can find the money and we can get it done. And we did, with community support. And some of the absolutely amazing things that the city's accomplished in even just the last 4 years have been incredible. And hiring the city administrator, we've had some changes in staff, and the level of professionalism that's continued to raise and increase over the last 8 years has corresponded with our community. And we have you to thank for that. There are big shoes to fill, and I will miss you. So thank you for everything that you've done and for our community and for each of us.
I have that story.
Okay.
One of his favorite is how one of his officers almost tased me. I know you told that. So that story is, I'm out at my car, and Matt's coming across the parking lot. And he goes, I have just been shoplifted. I think they went into your building. Do you mind going in there? I'm like, no, not at all, Matt. So I go in, I come out, there's a brand new recruit. Sit down. I was like, what? He said, sit down. So I sat down, and he goes, do you have any weapons? And I went, no. And then I started getting mad, which is not good. And I said, what is your problem? He goes, he starts reaching for his taser, and he goes, I said, and then another officer comes up and goes, oh, for God's sake. So they couldn't find the perp, so they left. So I'm leaving my office, and I look out in the field, and her head pops up. So I call them back out, and they come out, and they get her. But I know you told Rotary. I know that one. The other one was fun with Will. And Will and I were the first two people to ever run against the old boys. And it was a lot of fun. And Will had the idea to hire a lobbyist, and you would have thought hell had frozen over. And it was a whopping $8,000, but he said, this is how you get it done. And you know what? I believed in Will then, and I believe in Will now, and I believe in you in your future.
Well, thank you.
And so we had staff make a very funkified, remember, it was just so plain and basic about what the sewer would do. So we went to see Hans Dunshing, who was head of Ways and Means. And he was a D, so we talked about the outfall being extended and what it meant for the fish and everything else. And then we went to Gary Alexander, because he was the ranking R, and we talked about what the economic growth would be for the city, and on, and that was the most fun day. And Will, everyone thought Will was the mayor, and this one from Moses Lake comes out. You can tell it, Will.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. He's 6'6", he's old school country, and he goes, young lady, what brings you down here to Olympia today? And I stepped back at that point, I said, you've just met our mayor, I'm gonna watch this one.
And, you know, and we've had different things at different times, and, you know, well, it's been a lot of fun to watch the city grow.
Well, thank you.
You've done great things. I'm proud of you.
And when Becky and I started, there was only 5 council members, because we were under 5,000 people
Yeah.
at the time.
And no one had ever really run for an office. No one had ever produced signs. No one had ever produced, it was weird. It was weird.
Doorbelling was weird. That was,
Oh, weird, wasn't it? I'm not opening the door. You don't have to.
yeah, we definitely ran to the old school of Duvall back then.
But look how hard.
Well, thank you. Look how far we've all come. It's an amazing group. I mean, we really wouldn't have attracted people like Boyd or Lindsay, or helped Laura and Jody succeed in the roles they have. I still remember sitting at Steve Laniszewski's house, And Boyd, I decided, I know I'm gonna sell him, I'm gonna give him a City of Duvall bag with his offer in it, you know? Look at that, close the deal. And he looks at that bag and he's staring at that bag and I'm thinking, uh-oh, did I lose the guy or did I get the guy? Because this is the time we didn't have a public works director and I was, you know, we were gonna most likely promote Steve Laniszewski to that role. And so Boyd, you know, rightfully so, looked at what he wanted to do. And then Laura saying, you know, living through not a couple of different planning directors, and then finally we realized this is the right person for this role. And Jody coming to me and saying, hey, I want to be the next city clerk of Duvall. And I told Matt Moore, and I said, that really stood out for me. You know, here's somebody who had the confidence to say, this is what I want, even produced an offer letter, filled out an application, did the whole thing. We went through a vetting process, and it was truly the best person for the job. You know, same with Lindsay, there was a great opportunity there, and so she saw the opportunity. She and I had dinner one night, and I'm thinking, this woman knows what she's doing. She's gonna raise the bar, and every time we had those conversations about next opportunities, it was raising the bar on what we do. So, thank you for all that. Okay.
Well, we have a little extra time, so would council like to do our council reports before
Jennifer?
I
the
don't
meeting?
know,
Or
I could always.
would you like to take a break? Okay.
Are we going to discuss the rec ball field improvements? The memo that was in the packet.
We can?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Deb.
Would you like a brief synopsis or?
Maybe that there's
Okay.
since it was non-discussion, I mean, it could be nice to
Yeah, for sure.
discuss what it is, and my questions are just about how it factors into the leasing and that service.
So, as part of change order number 2, when we brought that forward to council, remember change order number 1 and 2 were to do additional improvements to the sewer main, the parking lot, and prepping the site for the rest of the rest. But one of the items in change order number 2, which we didn't ask for funding for, was the batting cages. And this came about during the project. It wasn't envisioned as part of the project, but with DA Hogan and actually the contract out on the site saying, you folks have this extra 15-foot wide swath that's 109 feet long. Why don't you do something with it? And they said, you guys should consider batting cages. And our response is, no, we don't have the funds right now. We still haven't spent what was authorized on the project. I think it was $3.6 million for 2017. But we committed to council and community, we'd stay in budget. And so we mentioned it, and then we just kind of left it. And it was more just to say, hey, this is an opportunity in the future. We're not looking for funding right now. Snow Valley Youth Little League came forward and said, hey, we like those batting cages, and we're willing to talk to the city about funding construction of batting cages. And this is all informal staff discussions with the goal of bringing it to council to see if you folks want to look at it. It's a policy decision. So there is no memo of understanding, there's nothing like that, but we have outlined an approach that if you'd like, I can summarize with respect to the cages. Or if you have more questions than just about what happened at that point, or?
Yeah, I think it's a good history. I have specific questions, unless anyone else has any
Would you like me to
questions.
throw out what
I
the?
think it would be helpful for the group.
Yeah, so once again, these are just, this is staff level, this is not council level, but it's staff level discussing these issues with the Little League Board President, Mike Mullen. So what would it take for them to pay for the batting cages? Well, once again, we haven't identified it, it's not in our CIP, it's something that we probably shouldn't be spending standalone city funds on unless it's identified in the CIP or the rest. 2, it's not permanent, so, and 3, it's, I don't know why I tried 1, 2, 3, I'm not very good at that. 3, it's just, it's more of an idea. So what they came forward with is, hey, we're willing to give you a cash payment for half the construction cost up front before the project is done, if your contractor is willing to install the batting cages, and if council is willing to look at this, and then pay for the remaining portion upon completion. Well, that's good. Well, what do you want in return? And what they proposed in return is we would like credit for those costs spent in the next 5 years. And so we looked at it, and we looked at what other people charge for batting cages, And in some parks, it's $20 an hour. If it's inside, it could be much, much more than that. Anyone that has children with Little League, you spend like $50, $75 for a 1 hour lesson in that case. So we were saying, well, look, if council chooses to look at this, the cages are rented at $20 an hour. Little League's committed to use the batting cages for 500 hours a year. 20 times 500 is $10,000. $10,000 times 5 years is $50,000, which is an approximate cost we think to utilize for the batting cages. So if you folks want to look at this, the opportunities for the city, if we have to go through Curly and the rest is, and if we can get the contractor to work, if you folks support the approach, is we get these in at no cost to the city except for credit against use. What the Little League has said is we just want that credit distributed, if you proceed, over the year, each of the years for 5 years. And we also have the opportunities to rent the batting cages out to others. So, I mean, $20 an hour isn't a lot, but it's a money that might get more people to come in for clinics and the rest. And so we've thrown out as staff, and once again, we're just making things up, it's just a discussion, but we have a tiered rate structure. If you're in the city or a city league, it's a lower rate. If you're outside of the city or private, it's a higher rate. So we were just throwing out, I haven't even thrown these out to the mayor yet, or administration. Let's say it's $20 if you're in the city or a league. It could be $50, $75 if you're out, because our concern is you might get private users coming in and running clinics and making a lot of profit at a city facility, which they can do, but charge higher rates for outside use. And I think it may be something to consider.
So we would be managing the rental of those batting cages. So
Yes.
that would be probably your department that someone has to.
Yeah, right now, the Public Works, because we don't have a parks department, we are managing the rental of the fields. So we make sure the lights come on, and the gates are unlocked if they're locked and the rest. And it's working pretty smoothly. And I'll just let you know, we haven't had too many complaints yet. It's very difficult when you're competing leagues. I mean, right now, we had Little League coming in with 1,500 hours, which is a lot of revenue. And a lacrosse came in and said, well, we'd like to rent the fields for 4 hours a week. I said, okay, well, how do we bump Little League out? And the answer is, well, if lacrosse can show that they're going to bring in more funds, because you're going to rent the fields longer, then it makes good sense. Didn't work out that way. So we're constantly looking at how to accommodate as many users as possible, because the edict we have from council is make sure that we have rentals so we can save money for turf replacement. Yes, sir.
Is there any software that we purchase that would help?
We've looked at several. City of Redmond uses a software system that's about $15,000. It runs all their parks. I'll tell you right now, and I've shared this a little bit with administration, is we just generated a spreadsheet, and no one likes it. But since most of these reservations are something that we're having to work with groups, it's working okay right now. One thing we're looking at, and I've shared this with administration, is that potential asset management system we're looking at, which is really stormwater and wastewater and the rest, but can also go to the building department and the rest. They have similar types of opportunities for custom modules. So our goal would be to get through, I'm just saying, the SAP level, get through the first year scheduling things the way it's going, which is a lot of work, so we can accommodate both soccer and football, and try to accommodate both baseball and lacrosse, while still having people that want to rent the field for Thanksgiving and the rest, rent the field. Try to do that kind of as we're doing now, more formally make things work. But we would like to get to the point where we either have some type of scheduling software or something like that, asset management, we can push the schedule up so folks understand when the fields are open, because people can use the fields if they're not being reserved. I rambled about that a little bit, I'm sorry.
Can we use a portion of the rental income from certain things to go toward that?
You folks could, that's a fine idea. We're right now trying to make sure that we save as much money from that per placement. But it's a good thing to look at. And I'll say if this asset management, which they basically customize a module to get what you need to get done. It's the same with we've looked at building permit software. We're not talking $30,000 a year, we're talking more. And these folks come back, well, about $5,000, we can set up something that takes your existing database, shoves it in the cloud, and when you fill out a building permit, generates the forms you need. And by the way, when guys are out in the field, they can look on their phone. So we'd be looking at the same thing maybe for ball field scheduling. If these folks could do the same thing, actually, we're asking them. And that might be something similar. So maybe instead of spending $15,000 for Redmond level software, which is many parks, maybe it's more on the $5,000 level for something that's customized to Duvall with our park, or,
Something that we can write more code for later to update.
yeah, or, you know, if you get one setup, you can get more, so it could be the depot, could be the Rose Room, you know, those things we have, we're just kind of looking at it right now. So,
So the turf installation cost wasn't part of the estimate, and that will be part of what we see as the next.
there's a brief line there, we worked that out pretty quickly, but we actually, our turf installers, you remember, had some issues, and we made sure things were done, but they also over-ordered brown turf, and we've got it stored. And so instead of spending $12,000 on turf, we've got the turf and the materials, so it's just the install. And the reason we put that note in there is we wouldn't know if we'd have to get the turf install company to come out and do the labor, because it's kind of specialized, or is that something that the contractor could do if they're willing to do the work? And so that's a savings, we just don't know what that install cost would be.
Do they have the unemployment in the infill as well as the turf?
We wouldn't, most likely, we'd recommend not putting the E-layer, because it's very expensive to mow out the equipment. We do the crushed rock sand base, and then the infill sand in the turf. There's not a lot of shock. You're not running back and forth in these batting cages.
So I like the idea, because they can build the system, provide capital, the money to build the initial facility, and then the lease credit back, or the fee credit back for their use. And then there could be other opportunities for revenue generation for that facility. And then, was it part of the request that that credit not only go to the batting cages, but go to the field as well?
So what they requested, and once again, it's their request, I just agreed with this when we discussed it, I pushed back a little bit, but they can propose something, they're proposing it to you through staff. And what they said, it would be easiest for us, because we don't know that we're gonna use the batting cage every time. It'd be easiest for us if it's just a monthly credit. Right now, they're committing to 1,500 hours, they will pay for 1,500 hours of use, whether to use the hours or not, which is amazing. They've committed to that. It's pretty clear in the contract, it's not super clear. And so what they do is they plan to schedule and pay monthly. That's how we're looking at doing this. And what it would be is just, instead of looking at, okay, we used the batting cage for 30 hours this month and 300 hours this month, it's just like, look, we'd like to take that credit off monthly. So let's say you're using the fields for 5 months, and it's a $10,000 credit for 5 years, and they take $2,000 off each month of payment, just to make it simple. And part of it, what they explain, and it's not our issue, but they have cash flow issues as well, so that's why they're proposing this approach.
6 years, right?
We said 5, I think they said 6, so I think we put 6 in there.
What if we did it, so we had a 1-year contract, seeing how that went? And then after that, make a contract for 5 or 6 years. But what I'm saying is, we don't, since it's an unknown, do it as a shorter term and say, hey, you know what, this is new to all of us, let's do a shorter term. And then once we have a more established amount of time, of resources, of what you use, then we can go for a longer contract. But that way, that doesn't leave the city, how do I say this? Making sure we're using taxpayer funds the best and getting the most out of those taxpayer funds back from those entities. And then after that, it kind of smooths it out, and it's a fair and collective way to bargain. Instead of five years right now, you do it 1 year, and then after that, extend it for 4, something to that.
That's a great counter proposal. I think they're probably going to ask for some surety, because they need to understand if they're going to be getting credit all at once
Significant outlay.
or
Yeah.
over time. And I'm not advocating,
No,
I'm just
I
throwing it back
understand.
out. Once again, this
I'm wondering
is,
how to do this, so we make sure that we,
yeah,
I've got an idea. I mean, I like the idea of the software to understand the debt service. It's going to be of the overall financial operations of the facility. That's my key concern, that if we have a credit system that we're trying to service debt, and we don't know how to handle the maintenance and operations cost yet, but to see what that projection looks like with this agreement.
that's a good point. And one thing to make really clear, this has nothing to do with debt service. This is to save money for the O&M, and I'll tell you from a staff's perspective, if we can have additional amenities, if they get permanent arrest, I think we'll see additional use. So it really is, how do we save for turf replacement, which isn't part of the debt. The debt is the debt, and it's being paid back.
But these, you know, that debt is gonna be $45,000 additional dollars that you're gonna carry.
Well, that's my question.
Okay, that's a good clarification.
But the offset, and we do have to pay basically the mortgage on that.
We do, so, a real clear, quick distinction, when this was proposed almost 2 years ago, the costs for construction are covered by the budget and all the other funds, the park impact fee and the construction's done, I mean, that covered. So, what staff was dictated, make sure that you try to maximize rental revenue, because it's not paying for the project, it's paying for turf replacement in 10 years.
Well, plus the operations and maintenance.
Yeah, but that's already funded under, you know, existing funding. What I'm trying to say is, the money that would be either, if you spent money, city dollars to actually construct these, I mean, it'd come from somewhere,
The initial capital.
the initial capital.
But the way I understood the financial construct of the agreement, as we put together a long time ago, is that the offsets from the fees would offset the city costs of the facility over time, all the fees, et cetera, the user fees.
Yeah.
I remember that conversation, it was never promised that the user fees would offset the entire operations and maintenance costs, that was a goal.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a goal, but we fully expected that we would continue to pay general tax fund dollars and what have you for the maintenance and operation, but do everything we could to bring in the funding to offset that cost as much as possible and make it sustainable.
And I can go back to the presentations, and I'll just tell you, because I helped with the math, it was how many hours and what rates we have to charge, so in 10 years we can replace the turf, and that was what was presented to council. And I think there may be a benefit if we earn more, it can help offset parks. And so in a presentation, I can share that with you folks.
That's my only concern, if the credit generates more use and pays for itself, that could be a win-win. But if it gets into the overall user fees, then we would try to offset the taxpayer funding being used for operations and maintenance. I think the end goal was that we're trying to not exceed what we're currently paying now to mow, to water the
Yeah.
grass.
No, that's a good point, because
Some thousand a year.
I think what we presented a couple of years ago is that we don't think this is gonna take extra maintenance time. We're not paying for as much irrigation water or mowing, kind of be a wash, because they're out there blowing leaves and do the rest. But it really is how to make sure we collect the money to do repairs and replacement.
That's a shorter contract, so you see exactly what is being used that year. They may want surety, but we need, so you'll have to explain to them that where they need that, we need clarity on how much extra money, or if we're going to have a loss of those fees. So I am not for a longer contract, I'm for a shorter contract with an extension to 4 more years. You can present it how you want, but I want to see how that money works out for that credit for the, I know it's a significant outlay, do a 2-year, but 5-year, I want to know that the credits they're getting are not outweighing the loss we would have for that fund.
No, I understand.
We have a quick question. So on the time that they're paying for, even if they don't use, if they specify that they're not using that time, can we re-rent that time out to other groups?
Yes, we explain that to them. If, and once again, we propose policies, it's a 1-week cancellation, it's this. It's not all formalized, it's in there for the rest. We're kind of running with it the way it was discussed, but if they come and say, okay, now we've scheduled things in February, we found out we're not using Tuesdays and Thursdays between 6 and 8. Well, so sorry, you committed to paying for that, but if we find a different user, like lacrosse, okay, you won't be paying for that because we're not double charging someone for use. Basically, it's uptime of your use, we're making the same amount of revenue. Does that make sense?
No.
So based
I
on.
think we should double, if they say they're gonna use the field at that time, and they're paying for it, and they don't use it, somebody comes in and says, we wanna use it,
They should
they're
pay.
gonna pay.
Okay, what I'll say is, let's
I
say
think you should give us
1,500
a
hours and they
formal-
plan to only use 1,400 hours. What we discussed in, and once again, this isn't formal policy, we discussed you will pay the 1,500 hours unless someone else comes and takes those 100 hours you committed to. And if that's not the way you folks want to go, that's okay as well. I just, that might be,
Well, the other thing I'm thinking is if it is a 5 or 6 year agreement, and you would have a 5 or 6 year understanding or something that would tie them to a certain use.
that's a good point. And what I think we mentioned in the memo, we should have, if we didn't, this would be a contract, and they have a contract, they have an agreement with the city about the hours they'll use and when they'll do that. And this would be an amendment that basically would say, okay, if the city chooses to have batting cages, and if the Little League plans to pay for them, this is how it will be paid, half up front, half at the end. This is how the credit will be distributed. Over a year, which is a lot of credit. If they spend $50,000, that's $50,000 credit that basically wipe out the revenue for the league that year, or it's over 5 years or 6 years, and it's a smaller chunk. I will tell you, it's 2 batting cages, and they said they rent one for 500 hours. That doesn't mean they're not going to be renting both, and right then would be extra revenue to the city.
I'm not saying, I'm saying you can spread it over 5, boy, I'm just asking for a review after the first
Oh,
year with.
I understand.
You see?
I understand, and that's,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry.
Some performance.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
that's always good to review stuff, and there is language in the contract
Okay,
that
because I wasn't
clearly
saying,
says,
because
Yeah.
I'm not saying 1 year, I'm saying 5 years is great. Let's just have a provision that maybe we can look at it after that first year and make any adjustments, be fair, and we could have a cap on it. You know what I mean? You can make it so it's fair to both, but just let it be reviewed. Anything in perpetuality, say the word for me, will you?
Perpetuity.
That's
Perpetuity.
it.
That's the word. No, I understand, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I
I
thought you
know,
meant
I
accelerated
know your
credit.
engineer mind, I'm starting to really get it. Because Matthew's helping. Matthew's helping. He's
Just
talking.
sitting in between here.
Yeah, he's talking, I can feel it.
I understand what you're saying, I
Everybody.
understand what you're saying. Yeah. No, that's a,
Diane.
So my question is, you've done a lot